It says starting. Okay, now I think we're good. Hello. Happy Monday, people. Gabrielle here. If you have not joined live or seen my face before, I'm the admin of this group, and I am thrilled to have my friend Steffany here. And we are talking all about intensives. So she hosts the Intensive Summit. She was last year the first year
Yeah, it was.
with huge success.
It was awesome. It was so good.
And now we're here again, and I'm really excited that I was able to be a part of it again. I talked about neurodivergent inclusive retreats, but there's all different kinds of topics related to intensives and branding and marketing them and money and all of the things that go along with it. So if you are here live, feel free to drop any questions in the chat. I'm going to open it up on my phone. And if you're watching the replay, you can put hashtag replay or tag us, and we'll come back and answer any questions that you have. But I would love, Steffany, if you would tell us like the origin story. How you decided to do this, how you became the one for intense.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. So I was just a practice owner, and I'm like you said, we like vibe out a lot on being neurodivergent therapists. And so I think I was just like doing the thing, seeing clients like day in and day out. And then I was just like, I'm tired and it's not feeling fun to me. It's a lot to manage. And then I had heard about intensives like maybe 10 years before that. And I was like, I don't know, that sounds shady. How can that be ethical? Blah, 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 like all my like suspicious parts or whatever. And then come to find out, after I got EMDR trained, it's like fairly popular in the EMDR community.
Mhm.
And I tried it out and I loved it. Like seriously, seriously loved it so much. And so I started doing them more and more. And clients were having these incredible experiences. And
Mhm.
then other therapists started to be like, wait, what is that? What are you doing? How are you doing that? Like, what paperwork are you using? What's your policy on this? Blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, maybe I could do like a training or like a workshop on it. So anyway, the origin story is that's how the intensive design lab was born. And because I was doing intensives and I could see fewer clients because I was making bank over here, I had time to like actually create this really cool course and program. Okay, that's not even what you're asking about. You're asking about
No,
the
I
center.
love hearing it though. The
It's
people want
like
to
it
know.
trickled down, down and down. So then maybe this was last year, or maybe 2 years ago, I heard about, these free virtual summits
Mhm.
and the idea of bringing together a lot of speakers and a lot of people to talk about one topic. And I host the Facebook group, the Therapy Intensive Community, and it's so cool for therapists to connect and talk about this topic because the conversations have been happening, but they're in like little pockets, like EMDR therapists are talking here, or like brain spotting or couples or whatever, but nobody was having the conversation just out in the open about, how intensives can be applied to any type of therapy and how much they can transform a therapist's life.
Yeah.
Like I got into it to help my clients, but then pretty quickly I realized, holy crap, this had huge, like massive benefits for me. So my heart, I guess, is twofold to help clients get more breakthroughs and transformation, but like help therapists have a practice that they actually love the C, right? That they're, because if we just do it the normal way, it's a recipe for burnout. It just is. Like, I think we all have been through cycles of burnout
Yeah.
throughout our careers and our practice. And it's like, if you're not really, really careful and really intentional, it just sort of, you get back on that path.
Mm-hmm.
Right back to it. And that's nothing bad about us. Like for so long, I was thinking something was wrong with me because it kept happening. But I'm like, no, it's the system, it's how we're doing things.
Mm-hmm.
And there's lots of ways that you teach to combat burnout. Um, and for me, intensives was like a really big piece of that because I didn't have to be in back-to-back sessions all day, all week. I could do an intensive. That was my week, like doing a 3-day, half-day intensive. So anyway, that's how it was born. And then I was like, who are our speakers? Who can talk about these topics? Like therapists who are doing intensives, who can, give a behind the scenes look at how they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Coaches and people who are really inspiring about like money mindset and how to charge for like
Mm-hmm.
premium packages. And then all our like marketing folks who help us go from like the idea to the price to actually like getting it to people who can like schedule and book them. So that's what's happening in the summit.
Well, our friend Alex Alejandro Castro
Yeah.
Corey is watching with us,
Hi,
and he's
hi.
which speaking of intensives, uh,
Yes.
he is co-hosting my retreat with me in November. But I think I wanted to mention retreats because I remember when you asked me last year to speak at the summit, I was like, I don't do intensives. And you're like, yeah, you do. You do. You go on retreats. And I was like, oh, I didn't even think of it that
Right,
way.
like those are like multiple days.
Which, like, just so everybody knows, like, that is so important is to not just think so narrowly, because that's how I always thought of it too. I was like, oh, EMDR. That's people who do EMDR do intensives, because that's how I always thought of it also. But there's so many different things and ways that you can create it. And I just started doing coaching intensives also. So I do VIP days now. And for the same reason, because it's it's just like working with a therapy client. I'm like, why are we gonna drag this shit out for 6 months when you can sit with me for 4 hours and we'll get it done and then it's done. And I get to see that transformation too, which also helps me just know that like we did it and it's all implemented and you didn't have to see me for 6 months every other week. Like we did it in 4 hours together.
Yes. And people are like, can that really happen in 4 hours? And it's like a running joke in the intensive community, like intensive math, Like
Yeah.
that's a really good example. There was a brain spotting therapist who was like, we did a 4-hour intensive. I had worked with this client for a year. She's like, I swear to you, we got more done in those 4 hours. I mean, obviously, like leading up to it, you're preparing and stuff.
Yeah.
She's like, we got so much done. Or I see people, I mean, this is to me the most powerful story. I had like a young woman come in after a trauma. She scored off the charts, well above the criteria for PTSD. And after the 3-day intensive, her her assessment, like her symptoms dropped. She didn't even meet criteria for PTSD anymore in 3 days. And like, she's young, like go live your life. There's so many people who are like brave people who are in their like 60s, 70s, 80s doing trauma therapy and they
Mhm.
lived decades with all that pain, like carrying it around that and like generational trauma. And so
Yeah.
it's like if those types of things can be resolved or even just some amount of relief, any amount of relief,
Mhm.
that's so much better than
Yes.
like years of carrying that stuff. So it's really cool. Even couples work. I mean, we talk about that a lot because you get a couple in the I don't do couples work. That actually
Me
really
neither.
terrifies me.
It's a hard pass
But
for me.
right, like you get a couple in there for 50 minutes. Well, now you just stirred up all the shit. And they have to go back to their life and exist under the same roof. And it's like, okay, was like sometimes that's more harmful than helpful. But if you can sit down for 4 hours or the whole day or a weekend, a couple's retreat,
Mhm.
um, then they feel like, okay, like this thing changed. A lot of people say like the couple came into the intensive thinking, we're like legitimately sure if we want to stay together. And not that staying together is like the measure of success, it's definitely not. But there are people who say, and at the end, they felt like their relationship was like renewed and they had, yeah, I know, right? Because being in a like tense relationship is really painful. So
Mhm.
the idea that they could come in for a weekend and like have a refresh and their house feels different, like
Mm.
it's a big deal. So,
It's huge. And even like I have so many questions swirling in my little ADHD brain right now, but
me too.
one thing I thought of is I made a post on like just my Facebook feed, my personal Facebook feed about the intensive summit. And someone just commented and he was like, yeah, he's not a therapist. And he's like, I actually meet with my therapist the last session of the day because I don't like to feel rushed. And my therapist
Mm,
has even gone over the hour with me before because like
mhm.
we don't have like that 50 minutes is just not enough. And so I want
Yeah.
to mention that because, and then I'd like to hear your thoughts on anything else about this too, because I hear some, maybe I shouldn't say resistance, but some of the
Yeah.
feedback from therapists is like, clients aren't going to want to sit there for 4 hours or do this for 4 hours. Like, they're not going to want to do that.
Right, right. Which then I'm like, okay, then don't do it with them. But there
Right.
are some people, like we all have those clients where, at least I had a lot of them, where they like barely just got in the zone,
Yeah.
and it's like a half hour in or 45 minutes in, and trying to get them to stop talking is really hard, so it's not for everybody, but it can be really, really nice for some people, you
Mhm.
know. And there were just really hard moments where I'd feel like we're not getting anywhere if it's just like with the people you see again and again, or someone would finally get to a place where I'm like, oh my gosh, like here it is. Been
Yeah.
waiting for this moment. Like they're open or they're seeing things in a different way or whatever. And then the session ends and you're like, I literally don't know if they'll ever be in that headspace again because we worked so hard just to like get to that moment. But if you had like an hour more,
Yeah.
it's like so much when someone's in that right mindset, like so much can get done. Way, way more. It's like the zone, way
Yeah.
more than just a month of sessions where they're just sort of like, okay, I'm going to my therapist, then I have, this work call, or I have to go to lunch or pick up the kids or whatever else. Like there's this, I think the intention
Yeah.
behind it is also why people get so much more out of it.
I mean, I've experienced that myself, my own therapist.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We were there and I'm like, fuck, it's like 45 minutes in. I'm like,
Yeah,
want this to end because I'm not going to feel this way like when I see you again in 2 or 3 weeks. Like it's here now, and I wish we could just keep going and go through it
yes,
and be
yes.
done.
For sure. I was going to a session like last week and I was like, oh man, I really wish like an intensive would have been really helpful for this,
Yeah,
for that reason, because I don't like to just open it up and then move on. It's
I
like,
know.
no, I want to go all the way.
Me
So
too.
for some clients, no, they'd be terrified. They'd be like, I don't want to do that and I don't want to pay for that. But those aren't your ideal intensive clients, it's people who feel that like readiness. And that's who most of us, that's our dream client, right? Someone who wants to like do the deep work. They are at this point, they know it's time. They know they've been like putting it off, but they're finally ready to get into it. And
Yeah.
so that's like, the moments that we all are waiting for.
Yes, I know. And they're
That's
so
why therapy
simple.
feels so good when you're
I
doing intensives. It's because people are like, I want to do this. I want to be here.
Yes, exactly. And that just again helps with the burnout, right? Instead of having these one-on-one sessions that can just drag on. And I mean, I felt like that. It's part of my burnout and my story is, the clients that I worked with, it was like, because a lot of them were older. And so there was 85-year-olds who we had just been working through lots of trauma, but like just to get them to open up, it would be like, I literally would like to just spend a weekend with you because I feel like we could just get it
Yes.
figured
honestly, that's hard work for
Yeah.
sure. For
So, how can group practice owners
Mm.
start to integrate intensives into their practices with their team?
Yes. Oh my gosh. So there are a lot of group practice owners who have shifted themselves to doing intensives because they're like, I'm running this practice. I have a lot of things on my plate. Having recurring weekly sessions is becoming more challenging for me to manage. Maybe their caseload's been like lessening over time,
Mhm.
but they still have like commitments every single week. So for a lot of group practice owners, having intensives that are like brief, like I know, okay, these 3 days a month are my intensive days. You know, if it's an intensive package, you can charge premium rates. So like at one point, I would do one 3-day intensive and that I earned the same amount that I did for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
So, I mean, usually doing two a month, you'd have to be marketing for a pretty long time to get to that frequency. But even if you're like, okay, I'm going to have every other week I'll see my small caseload, and every other week I'll have, or once a month I'll have an intensive. It's like your income is staying the same, but you're freeing up a lot more time. And then if you're training your team to do it, well,
Mhm.
one, that's just a gift to them, honestly, because like we said, it does prevent burnout. It improves like therapist well-being and fulfillment. And then the benefit to the practice is you can charge more. So it's a win-win, right? Like what am I thinking? Like you're bringing more enjoyment to your team, which I think, it's hard to retain really, really good therapists in a group practice. So if they feel really supported and like they're enjoying the work they do, they get to do something like exciting, new, meaningful.
Mhm.
Um, that lifts up their commitment, ownership to the
Yep.
practice. And then you're making more money. So
And I think like their commitment to the practice too, like they feel valued of like, oh,
yes.
this is like a premium thing that I get to do and I get to work in like a different way that maybe feels more aligned for them too. So everybody wins.
Yes, right? Because so many people I mean, in therapy in general, but even in group practices, people can feel like, okay, my practice owner is just on me to like meet a certain number of hours or do the admin a certain way, or, sometimes it can become really focused on those things. And so if there's a way to, give them an opportunity or help them feel more light and enjoyment,
Yeah.
that's a win-win all around. So, yeah, creates time for
Mhm.
the owner, which we all need. We're like so, so short on time.
Yeah.
And then I do feel like it is very energizing instead of depleting.
Mhm.
So, like that renewable resource, because you are having those like glimmer moments with clients where you're just like, oh, wow, that's what I'm here for. That's why I do this.
Mhm.
Whereas when you're doing like, I don't know, bookkeeping or running payroll or something, that's not the moment when you're feeling like, I'm so happy I did this with my life. Unless you're, totally meeting all your income goals and feeling super good.
Yeah, there is that part, but like
Right, right.
when
That's
you're like
exciting.
running payroll, you're like, oh God.
Right, right. Like not so beautiful.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a cool option for practice owners.
Yes, it is. And I think again, I just like want to keep putting this out there because I do think there's perhaps this is the word I was thinking of, not resistance, but like limiting beliefs of
Yeah.
like, can I do this? Oh, I don't do EMDR. Oh, I don't do this. But like there are just so many different ways that you can structure it. So
Yes.
come to the summit because you'll get a lot of inspiration. I see some people watching live too. So if you guys have questions, put it in the chat or comments. Um, what, thinking of the summit, like tell us a little bit, because I know you have it like structured, like each day is kind of a different theme. Like what,
Yeah.
I know you talked a little bit about some of the topics, but I'd love to give people more of like the what they're going to get out of it because there's just so much value, and I feel like you really covered every single part and piece of those tips.
Yay! Well, that is the goal. And I have to shout out the summit quiz because it's so fun. We'll have to share it down below. But there's over 20 presentations, and so in a perfect world, you could like go through and watch them all, but most of us are short on time. So we have this really fun summit quiz that helps you match with like what are the presentations that are most relevant to you right now in your practice. So that's really fun. But I'll go through. So day one, yes, they all have themes. Day
Yes.
one is April 28th, and it is all about intensives are not intense, they're intentional. Because I
Mhm.
think, like you said, people are like, oh, what client wants to sit through that long? Or they're like, I don't know if I could do it.
Yeah.
And I felt this way, and I hear it from therapists too. Like, I think it's actually easier to sit with one person for 3 hours than
Yeah.
multiple people. That sounds like an oxymoron, but if it's the right person, like someone you really click with, that time flies by way, way faster than you would expect. Um, so on that day, there's going to be different therapists talking about their intensives and what they look like, what the purpose of them are, what type of clients are booking them, and what they do. So I think that's the best, like, first step if someone is kind of unsure or just like, what does this even mean?
Mhm.
So, LaDonna Carey's talking about her Gottman couples intensives. A
Mhm.
lot of people, are Gottman trained,
Mhm.
and that is such a good framework, and it adapts so well to an intensive model or like a long weekend or even a retreat. So that's a good one that'll be on day one. Susanna Horowitz does like nature-based, she integrates all kinds of things. It's honestly really cool. There's like some creative art stuff, there's nature stuff, she does psychedelics. So she just kind of shares, okay, I have all these modalities that I love. This is how I, design an intensive for a client based
Mhm.
on like them and who they are. So that's really cool. Um, Let me think who else is on day one. Uh, just a lot of different folks. Vanita Menon, she's a
Yes.
psychologist, and so she does two types of intensives. One is like the assessment,
Mhm.
and then one is a therapy intensive for
Mm.
folks with ADHD
Mhm.
and who are just getting diagnosed with autism. And
Mhm.
so that's a really cool one too. So just, I mean, there's like a whole wide range. And each day there's a live panel with different speakers to talk about that day's topic.
Mhm.
So for people who are like, oh, I'm busy, I have, whatever, I'm running a practice, I have back-to-back sessions, totally get it. All the presentations are free for 24 hours, but if you want to get the replays, if you want to get them in your like podcast feed or attend the live panels, everybody has the chance to upgrade and get the all access pass. So
Mhm.
I know you have a link for that. It'll be down there. But okay, so let me, that was day one.
Yeah.
That was day one. Day two is intensives are high value, high impact. So this is where we're talking about the money and the accessibility. So Gabby's presentation is on Tuesday. We talked about well, I'll let you say what we talked about.
We just talked about making retreats more neurodivergent inclusive. So, if you didn't know and you're watching this, Patrick Casal, my friend, and I hosted a neurodivergent burnout retreat in January in Belize, and we are hosting another one that's sold out in March 2026 in New Zealand. There's still two spots for the Beyond Private Practice one though in New Zealand, just FYI.
So
And
good. I was just seeing all his pictures in New Zealand last week. So good. Yeah.
it, he was hitting the ground running. I'm really happy that he was able to do that because he got everything booked. We've got all of our meals booked and our excursions. And so we're really excited for that. And I think it's an important conversation just about inclusivity because I know as a neurodivergent person, I've been to retreats where, yeah, I think that maybe sensory things weren't taken into consideration or like the schedule or the structure. And honestly, I think the biggest takeaway that I've always had, even though like all of my retreats maybe don't necessarily have that theme, but because of who I am and who I attract, particularly neurodivergent people come. And I think just seems so small, but like the biggest thing is to just know that I always tell people like this is your experience. And so I'm not going to judge you if you decide to sleep in every day and you don't come to sessions. Like it's your time. You got to do what works for you. And so I just think giving people that permission, which I haven't always experienced, is just so hugely important. So that was one thing we talked about. We talked about a lot of other stuff on how to make things more inclusive and neurodivergent friendly when you're doing intensives or retreats. Hi,
Yeah.
Uriah.
Love it.
Yeah, that was a
Cool.
long explanation. Sorry, I got excited.
No, that's how we flow. Yeah, I love it. Like that conversation is so important, and especially because intensives work so well for neurodivergent clients and neurodivergent therapists. I feel like it's important to highlight. I mean, we could talk even more about that, but I didn't realize like how much easier it was for me to be an intensive therapist than a weekly therapist. It was very, very hard. The executive functioning that it requires is high.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah. Yep, that's day two. The money conversations are, I mean, I was like seriously tearing up in some of them because it's a sensitive topic.
Yeah.
And there's just really incredible people. It's I always feel really inspired when people talk about their journeys with money and how they like invite clients into an experience, like to invest in an experience.
Mhm.
Because some of these intensives are thousands of dollars, like my 3-day intensive I charged $5,000.
Yeah.
So it is a large financial investment, but when the clients have the experience, they're like, this changed my life.
Yep.
And like, I'm very happy with the purchase that I made. So like as therapists, we're like, oh, like you did what? Like, I think I almost like threw up the first time someone said yes. So I was
Yeah.
like,
It's
what? That's incredible.
it's like
But
a mind fuck, right? Like you're like so
yes.
excited, but at the same time, it's like, okay, now I have to deliver, and like I can't believe somebody
Yes,
agreed to
yes. And we
that.
talk about that a lot too, of like, it really does come down to how you view what you have to offer. And that like it is very, very valuable. And that comes up in a lot of the talks. Micah Miller is so fantastic, and I know, she talks about that exactly. I talked with Audrey Shane of Balanced Private Practice. I always love speaking with her. We talked about talking about money in session with clients, which for me is
Mm.
always like
Yeah.
a hard one. Um, but she's so fantastic with it and like gives a lot of good practical pointers.
Mhm.
And Tiffany McLean is a part of the summit this year talking about the ethics of premium pricing, which is always a really hot topic.
Mhm.
So I loved it. It was like, inspiring and also like stretching. So there's a lot of really great conversations that are going to happen on day two. The panel that day is going to be the BIPOC therapists building wealth, which was a panel from last year, and it was one of the favorites of
Mhm.
the whole summit. So it's really, really fantastic. I'm glad we get to do that again. Um, and day 3 is all about marketing. So intensives are in demand
Mhm.
and how to connect, how to like click with your perfect fit client. So
Mhm.
that day, Anna Walker is here talking about niche and website, how that helps, how your niche and your website like help you connect with a client who's ready to pay those premium rates, right? Amber Lida
Mhm.
is fantastic.
Mhm.
Ariana Smith,
Love her.
so good. Like, and then everybody, many people who are speakers contributed to the all access pass. So, like I said, if you want like the recordings or the podcast feed, you can upgrade for like it's a small fee. We're still in early bird
Mhm.
um, pricing. And you get access to live panels and all the speaker bonuses.
Mhm.
So they are kick ass, honestly. Like you listen to the presentation and then they're like, oh, here's my workbook to put it into action.
Mhm.
So good. So good. And you're going to be on a panel.
I am.
Awesome. All about the like creativity and breaking the mold. So that's gonna be super, super good. And then day 4, I always leave off
Don't
day
say
4 because that's my
don't
part.
forget, there's more.
That's the grand finale training. So that morning, I'm doing hot seat coaching for people who, are thinking, can I do intensives? What might it look like for me? That'll be happening in the morning. There's a panel of Intensive Design Lab alumni. So those are therapists who have launched intensives within the last year, and they're going to be answering questions about like what is it actually like? Like, tell me what's happening out there.
Mhm.
The majority of them have launched since in 2025, so very, very recent. Not like, oh, I did this in COVID and whatever. Like it's now. So ask them all your questions. And then the grand finale masterclass, I'll be teaching. It's called A Simple and Sustainable Shift, adding intensives for more ease, more
Mhm.
income, and more client breakthroughs. So I'm literally walking through the 6 pillars of how to launch intensives in your practice. And
Yeah.
then doors open to my program launch guide. So it's
So
so exciting. Like it's a full week and it's a fun time. We had such a good time last year.
we did. And it was like you were in Oregon with us last year, I feel like, when it was
Yes.
like right before or when it was starting. I can't remember, but it was very close.
Yes. But that was so nice to be on a retreat and just like rest and chill and then get ready to have this like really fun experience. Yeah.
Oh, yay. This has just been so great chatting with you. I'm gonna link lots of things below if you're watching this. We have a training, and by we I mean Stephanie has a training for group practice owners. It's short, it's like 15 minutes free on how to start building intensives into group practices. And I will put my link below for the intensive summit if you want to join
Yay.
us. We said it's free unless you want to upgrade to the all access pass and be able to get those replays and other bonuses. And then Stephanie also has a Facebook group for running intensives. So I will link all of those things below as well.
Yay. Thank you so much for like making this space and for like the really important conversation we're having in the summit. So thanks for being a speaker.
Thank you again for having me. Like, really, it's an honor. And I'm glad that, like, it feels honestly really cool to be on a panel talking about like creativity because 5 years ago, that would not have been me.
Oh,
But now it is. And so I'm really thrilled to be talking about that and supporting you and supporting therapists on how they can work differently and maybe even better. Like, I know it was better for you. It's better for me. It's been better for my own nervous system to just do those chunks, like those blocks with one person and do coaching, see the transformation, and then that's it. It's not
yeah.
like this ongoing, I don't want to say it's draining, but it is draining for me. Like, I just know
Yeah,
I work best, and I think we're similar in that way. So,
totally. Totally. Awesome. Thank
great.
you.
Do we miss anything? Anything else you want to share before we hop off?
No, I think that's it. It's just gonna be fun to connect with everybody.
Okay. Well, if anybody is watching the replay, just put hashtag replay below. Stephanie's in the group, and we will come back and answer any questions that you have about intensives. And then make sure you check all the links below to join us on the summit and join her Facebook group too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
See ya.